All right, good afternoon. Welcome into Sports Extra Daily on this frozen Wednesday afternoon.
Oof.
It is just brisk outside. I've gotten really soft. Corey Curtis here with Kayla Anderson and Cal Baxter. Kayla, how are you today? I see you've gone long sleeves. That was a wise choice.
I went long sleeves. I've got you can't see, but I have a blanket on as well because that's just how cold it is. And you're right. We have gotten soft in terms of the weather.
Yeah, I gotten soft a long time ago. I grew up in Chicago. I've lived in the South a very long time, and I am an absolute marshmallow. But that's okay. We are here to talk about the sports of the day. We want you to be a part of the show. Chime in on that comment or reply button on Facebook or Twitter, or go ahead and email us, kanderson@wkrn.com or ccurtis@wkrn.com. Today, we are talking about NFL rule changes, a very skinny wide receiver. Also going to have some draft prospects for you. I've got some comments already on my Facebook page. Mike Mulder wants to know why nothing was being said. It's because we weren't on the air yet. Rufus Hughes says we haven't started yet. That's why he's right on the money. And Rufus says, why you turn the air on? I don't know. We're on the air now, so hopefully that's good to go for everybody.
No, he's saying about the air, like like the cold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm old. I'm done. I can't get anything
I'm here
right
for
anymore.
you.
I can't get anything right anymore. Let's talk about some of these NFL rule changes really quickly. They were proposed a few weeks ago, and many of them were passed through today. One, the notorious replay official will now be a part of the game. They've eliminated overtime from preseason games, which I think is a very good decision.
Yep.
It can only lead to meaningless injuries. And trying to decide overtime with the 932nd guy on the roster is really not the way to go. But the exciting one to me, Kayla, the numbers are out there. Single digits for everybody but linemen. Even linebackers can wear numbers like 1 and 6. You can even wear teens and 20s. So you can have like a 13 at linebacker. I think it's stupendous. I think it's amazing. I know some people don't like it. I can't understand why. But so the number change has been put out there. And the first person I thought of was A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown has already tweeted out that he won't be changing because he was going to ask Warren Moon, former Oilers quarterback, if he could wear the number 1. He said, but then I looked up Warren Moon and realized there's no way I'm even close to being worthy.
That's so I saw that tweet just recently and I was like, good for you, AJ Brown. First of all, having a little respect for those who came before you, and not saying that, he couldn't change his number in the future, but I thought that was a cool move by him, showing some maturity because he knows he's good and he is good, but he still knows there's a lot to prove and he's still fairly young in the league. So to even say that he looked up Warren Moon and looked at all his stats, I thought that was pretty cool. But hey, I'm for it. Whatever number is your number growing up, or what Pop Warner may be, or whatever it may be, if that's your number, it's your number. And yeah, people have a problem with it because, people like the traditional kind of ways of doing things in the NFL. But I'm with you, Corey. I'm for it.
What does it hurt? What does it hurt?
No,
I understand why they're leaving the lineman numbers where they are because of eligible receivers.
Yep.
I get that. So I don't have a hard time with it, but opening them up to the guys that they've opened them up to, I think is a good thing. The other thing you've run into is the league's been around for a while now, and so a lot of numbers have been retired. And so some teams are having a hard time coming up with the numbers they need to get guys in the field. I mean, there was one year going into training camp, the Titans were lean on numbers, and Mike Mularkey called me and asked me about 27. And I said, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Wow.
And Eddie George called me and said, Mike Mularkey called him. And I said, tell him no.
That's a weird position to be in.
Well, no, it was, you know what? I was honored to be in that position. I really was. Because, Eddie wanted.
No, but Eddie, for Mike to call, that kind of puts him in a weird position.
It does put him in a weird position. And I told Eddie, I said, it's one thing if they want to give your number to a first-round pick or, a big-time free agent acquisition. They can't just give it to a rookie. They just can't. I said, so I would say, I told him I would say to Mike, I would prefer it not, but if you're going to, make
Yeah.
sure it's someone worthy. And then I told Mike, I said, I understand your problem. That number needs to be retired.
Yeah.
And he agreed. He agreed. Ultimately, that number needed to be retired,
Yeah.
and ultimately he told Eddie not to worry about it, and they got it worked out. But this is the situation I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're like literally they can just be in a numbers crunch, and so opening this up helps. And I look for I like big guys in single digits.
Well,
And
the
this-
rosters have expanded too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So, you know, it was
Yep.
53, and it was before that. It was what less than 53 at one point in time.
Yeah, probably.
And
51.
so rosters have
Yep.
expanded to the point with COVID, the expanded practice squad.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You got to have, and the NFL, unlike college, doesn't allow duplicate numbers.
Right.
which is good because I don't.
Well,
like
that's
that at all.
it's confusing
Yeah,
as
I
all
get
get out
confused
when
on
you
that.
get when. But
Yep.
We actually have some in the preseason, and when you're calling the preseason games, that can be tough sledding.
Oh, I bet.
But if you think about it,
You
the
had-
single digits, usually there's 1, 2, 3 on a team, maybe single digits, and that's vacant. That's real estate that the teams need. So
Because only like quarterbacks, punters, and kickers could wear single digits before, and there might be 4 of those guys on a team, and so you got 6 numbers, 7 numbers that you can't use. Is 0 a number?
they just allow.
No, it's 1.
I-
It's 1. It starts at 1. They don't
No,
allow
they don't
0.
allow
they
0.
don't.
I was going to say
Okay.
in college they just allowed 0 because was it Bryce Thompson wore 0 for UT last year, and
Did he
and
really?
I think Rashad Bateman wore 0 for Minnesota last year.
Yep.
Yes, he did.
But that was
Yes,
like last year was the first year they allowed 0
In college.
in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Boulder agrees on Facebook. He says that's a good thing. I hate the multiple players with the same numbers in college. I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. And I understand the college rosters are massive. Maybe we should go to triple digits in college.
Oh my gosh. That's like the long last names. It throws you off, right? The long
109.
last
Well,
names.
you see
yeah.
that I will say
Right.
you see triple digits. I think of stock car racing, or
Yep.
at the fairgrounds here in Nashville.
What if
Oh
you-
yeah.
With some of the
if you
grassroots racing, you
eat
see
straight-
well, it's like a 10, but then there's like a 9 that's like so it's 109, but the 9 is like
Hanging off the
it's
end.
smaller and down on the side.
So we could do like 3 squared or maybe like 3.1.
Oh, 3.14.
That's all. That's asking for more confusion.
Mike Mulder says in the XFL they use triple digits.
Yes.
Well,
This is correct.
A lot of
the rocks.
things were different in the XFL.
Yeah, like going out of business twice
Well,
now.
nicknames on
Right?
jerseys. He hate me.
Oh gosh.
He hate me. All right, so a number of NFL rules. Those are just a couple of them. I always find the number one most interesting. And when I saw AJ Brown's tweet,
Yep.
I agree with you, Kel. I thought that was awesome to go out and get out in front of that immediately because everybody's wondering, is AJ going to wear 1? Does Derrick Henry want to move to 2? And he's like, yep, I'd love to wear 1, but that's Warren Moon's number, and there's no way I'm taking it.
That's
It'll be
awesome.
interesting to see if Derrick Henry goes back to 2 because I think he struggled
Mm-hmm.
settling on 22
Yeah.
when it eventually got to that point because he wore 2 in the preseason as long as humanly possible. He wore 24 at the Panini Rookie Card Premiere. And then I think there's some attachment to 22 because one of his friends, Al.T. Tenpenny, who was in the same running back group with him at Alabama,
Passed.
who died in a car accident.
Yep.
I think he wore 22, and Derek wore 22 to honor him.
Yep.
So
I think he keeps it. That's just my thoughts.
I
don't know.
I think he will too.
I mean, it's a nice. 22.
I like it.
It's a nice number. Like it looks good
It does.
as a running back.
And he's
doesn't-
had
it's-
some success with
It's not
it.
like 49 on a running back.
No.
Or,
No.
or 30. I think I'm trying to think.
38.
38.
Yeah.
35.
Didn't Larry Centers wear 37?
I think Tim Worley wore 38.
Isn't it
Yeah,
funny
Larry
how?
Centers did wear 37.
Isn't it funny though how like numbers can make us cringe?
Yeah,
It's so
37.
weird that you even do that, but yeah.
41.
Lorenzo
47.
Neal wore 41 pretty well.
Yeah, you know what? I think certain guys can make a bad number a good number.
Yeah.
That's very. I mean, like 27 is not a great number, but a lot of people wear 27 now.
Yep.
And there's one guy who's the reason why. John Winston Heacock was very impressed with your pie joke.
Thanks, John.
He's very impressed. Mike Mulder says 1 is a lonely number. The only number lonelier than none, 1 is none. So there you go. Rufus Hughes says, why not spice it up a little bit? And Mike Mulder says, any of you guys going to the orange and white game on Saturday? No, Mike, because it's 6 o'clock on Saturday night. We have a draft special here on News 2. So you can watch the orange and white game, and then you can watch our draft special coming up at 6 o'clock. Lee Hillis, I think Henry goes back to 2, even though Baronis wore it. Look, Baronis wearing 2 has nothing to do with anything. I mean, I know he's passed away, but I don't think a kicker wearing a number is going to stop anybody from taking it. I think it's just like what Cal talked about. I think he sticks with 22. It's a friend of his numbers. He's also established himself as a star in this league with that number, although didn't stop Kobe from changing numbers. True. Didn't stop Michael from changing numbers. So we'll wait and we'll see. Now, speaking of changing numbers and the NFL draft, let's talk about Devontae Smith, the runaway Heisman Trophy winner. Look, he's electric. He is exciting, and I can't wait to see him in the NFL. And after the news today, I just want to know if he'll survive.
Right?
166 pounds?
Weighing in at 166 at wide receiver.
I mean, that, and he's like over 6 feet tall, right?
He's 6'1".
I mean, that is slight.
I mean, we all talked about his weight during the season. A lot of people were already, because he was just electric, people were paying attention to what he did, and then he ended up winning the Heisman. But then the first thing they talked about was, oh, he's pretty slight. And then he drops 4 pounds from his pro day.
Yeah, and well, Alabama had him listed him last year at 174. So he'd be down 8 pounds from that. And then 4 pounds from his pro day. What's going on? No, I don't either.
No, they always stretch for sure. Media guides do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like Sean Bradley and Manute Bol. These guys are 6'7", and the struggle for those guys to put weight on them. And like what Cal's talking about, this guy's out there, he's running all over the field, but
get on a plan.
Yeah,
you'd think that
there's something called protein that you
would
can
think
eat.
that the Alabama strength and conditioning staff could put some pounds on him. And the one thing it's
Sorry. Melanie Hazen just chimed in and says, geez, I weigh more than Devontae.
I mean, that's slight,
well,
man.
It makes me think of like almost like the NBA players, because if you've never been around like NBA players on a game situation, like they are 6'4", 6'5", and wispy, to say the least. And you almost think like a strong gust of wind, like Kevin Durant. They don't call his Scott Van Pelt calls him the thin man.
Yeah. I would hate to have that nickname.
Okay, Deshaun Jackson's the first guy I think of in this scenario, and even he's like 175.
Isn't he a little shorter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'd love to see what Deshaun Jackson weighed, like at the combine and all that stuff, because again, trusting an NFL team or even a college team to what they list in the program.
Yeah.
I take that with a large helping of salt.
Yeah. Here's my quick thought, just before you get to that question. My quick thought on the whole thing, because Cal brought up, Alabama is the top program in college football, right? So they're considered almost a mini pro team. And so you'd think that their strength and conditioning program would have this guy on something where he would bulk up a little. But at the same time, maybe they wanted to keep him, the speed factor of it, and they wanted to keep him the way that he was. But when you get to the pros, you don't have a choice, and your body is going to be molded likely,
They're
to put
going to
on
tell
those
him to
pounds.
Well, they
Wait.
just need
Right.
him to stand up to a 17-game regular season, and
Exactly.
How-
He's got to get off the line of scrimmage, guys.
Exactly.
I mean, these guys, DBs are going to be all over him. He's going to have to get off the line of scrimmage. Rufus Hughes says, I've got him by 30 pounds. By more than that. John Winston Heacock is upset with me for body shaming Devontae Smith.
Oh,
Does he
well,
expect better of me? He said, send him to the Eagles. The cheesesteaks alone will add 10. Dreamland Barbecue is overrated. All right. Mike Mulder says, that's my concern also, Kayla. If he couldn't put weight on at Bama, is he even capable of adding weight? Yes, he is. He is. Like, you can get away with stuff in college. All right. When you're the best athlete on the field, like Vince Young was, you can get away with not being able to read the defense. But in the NFL, any weakness you have gets exposed. They go after it like a pack of bloodthirsty wolves. Okay. And so teams are going to try to beat him up. And he's going to have to beat up. Listen, I'm not saying he can't be successful. He's an electric player.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is something teams are going to go after.
they're going to press him. They're gonna roll the dice and press him. And
do you remember
you got your Marshawn Lattimore's? Give me some of the other top corners in the league that are like physical guys. Richard Sherman, Joe Hayden, guys that have been around the block. Logan Ryan, Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler would, I think he would jump at the chance to
destroy
him like
him.
Gumby.
Yeah.
They would treat him. They would jump at the chance to line up, within 3 yards of this guy and give him a good jam.
Start against you, first of all. So, yeah. Do you remember the movie Best of Times with Robin Williams?
No.
Oh, he was. It's a fantastic movie.
What did he play?
He's a nerdy guy who dropped a game-winning touchdown pass against the rival high school in college. Kurt Russell was the quarterback, Reno Hightower.
Oh, nice.
And so Robin Williams recreates this game 20 years later to try to redeem himself. And the guy who's lined up across from him played in the NFL. His name is Dr. Death. And so all game long, Robin Williams is trying to get off the line of scrimmage, and the guy's just picking him up and just body slamming him to the ground. Just,
I will say this, though.
Yeah.
The game has changed from the standpoint you can't mug them like they were able to do, like Darrelle Revis and Asante Samuel the first. And some of the other top corners were able to get away with. But at the same point in time, him running a crossing route or a nice dig and taking a shot from a safety. I mean, I'm sure he's a tough kid.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not saying. Hey,
Maybe-
take it from a skinny gal here.
Yeah.
Just because I'm skinny doesn't mean I'm tough. So I understand.
John Winston Heacock brings up a good point that Tyrann Mathieu is only 174. So he's not very heavy at all. He's only 5'9",
Right.
which makes him a little bit thicker. And we're talking about a guy who's 6'1" and 166.
Yeah. That's the difference. It's just the height and then the weight.
The proportions different. But 174 is not very big. And it's amazing a guy out there that size takes on tight ends. He's
so physical.
Yeah. Well, he brings the attitude.
The
So like
Honey
we're saying,
Badger does what he wants.
Yes, we're not saying that Devontae Smith isn't a first-round pick and can't be successful in the NFL. I'm saying it could cause a team to pass on him early.
Yep.
I mean,
He could slip.
It could be the difference between taking him and somebody else at 10. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Last year, or was it 2 years ago, Hollywood Brown from the Ravens is not he's slight of stature.
Yeah, he's tiny.
And so I remember in our draft discussions, he was a potential for the Titans. And I think, if I remember right, Corey, one of Corey's concerns was his slight
It's
build,
nice.
and then I guess the Titans ended up with A.J. Brown, which is like the complete opposite.
They showed me.
A
Yeah,
human
Marquise
beast.
Brown is 5'9", 181. So again, 4 inches
Okay.
shorter,
Yeah.
15 pounds heavier. So if we think Marquise Brown is slight at 181, 5'9", 6'1", 166. When next season gets here, I expect him to be over 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't think he has to play at over 175, but I do think he needs to put on some
Well,
weight.
10 pounds
Yep.
make a huge difference. You know, I mean,
Yep.
the
Yep.
Titans tried to do that with Marcus Mariota, and then he didn't like it. He didn't feel
yeah.
comfortable, and so he went back down
Yeah.
to his original college weight.
Yeah.
I remember that when we
Because he's
got,
not
we
back
were
with
like,
the Raiders now. He's back to
Yeah.
looking like Marcus.
but remember that, you guys, when we came into camp and we were like, whoa,
Marcus is jacked.
Marcus. Yeah.
He still got hurt. Still got hurt. All right. Preds are in action tonight. They dropped the puck in about 10 minutes in Chicago against the Blackhawks. This is a big one, Kayla. They're all big.
Yes.
9
They're all
games to
big.
go. By the way, Dallas has won 4 in a row and is now 1 point back with still 2 games in hand.
Yep.
And so the Preds have got to get at least 1 point tonight, but they could really use 2.
Yeah, I read an Athletic article last night that actually predicted that Dallas had a 55% chance at making the playoffs compared to the Preds, who they put at 38%. So they're predicting that Dallas is going to get that 4th spot. And right now they're making a run at it. And I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you can never count Dallas out, especially you saw what they did last year in the run they made to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, that's a tough team, and I know they're getting some names back, and that brings me to this point. I'm sure hoping that the Preds in the next couple of days are going to get some of these guys back. I know Ellie Tolvanen practiced. He could be back for that Friday game potentially, and they need the help on the power play from him especially. But to get a guy like Philip back would be huge right now. And I understand you got to take it game by game right now, especially with Chicago and them playing 3 games against them. And this is the second one tonight. But you got to rack up those points. And I'm not saying they're going to go 8-0 against Chicago this season. They very well could be going 8-0, but at least a win and maybe picking up a point in the next couple of games. They've got to be right there.
Well,
though,
the thing,
Dallas.
the thing about it is the Preds could be sitting on the couch in between games, and the Stars are playing one of these 2 games that they've got in hand, and picking up ground on the Preds, and the Preds can do nothing about it.
That's right. So as long as the Stars keep winning, there's nothing the Preds can do about it.
So basically, the Preds need to get points where they can get them to maintain their cushion.
Yep.
Otherwise, that's why the percentage that you were reading about was that the Preds are just going to run out of opportunities, and the Stars are going to still be playing.
By the way, Dallas has in just the last week lost Alexander Radulov and Ben Bishop both for the season, and it has not phased them. Okay.
No, aren't they supposed to get Sagan back though? Is what I read.
So now look, they've got more games left against the top of the division than the Predators do.
Yeah.
And so it's going to come down to the wire. And again, this is why when people are like, well, if the Preds don't make the playoffs, it's a huge failure. I can't say that, all right, because they could play really well down the stretch and still not make it. And I don't want to say I'm okay with that, but I'm okay with that. As long as they play the way they play and give themselves a chance, then that's what happens. If Dallas doesn't lose again, then Dallas doesn't lose again. There's nothing you can do about it. I think they play each other one time the rest of the season, and really that could be a playoff game. That game.
Yep.
And that probably needs to be a regulation win. I mean, the Preds have a lot of wins over Dallas this year, but they're all in a shootout or overtime. And, those are 3-point games, and the Preds need a 2-point game.
I will say this. I do not take anything away from right now. I mean, what the Preds have done against Chicago, a rival
6-0.
It's 6-0. Don't take anything away from that, because Chicago, I mean, I know that they're rebuilding a bit and they've been down, but they're going to bring it every time they play the Preds. You think they want to be 6-0 against the Preds this season? Absolutely not. That's just something.
Here's another crazy stat that I read
about.
in another athletic article that since 2017, the Predators have played the Blackhawks 22 times, and that's going back to the series that the Preds swept them on the way to the Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
The Blackhawks have only scored 2 or more goals twice in those 22 games.
Do you feel good
my
tonight, though,
gosh.
Kayla? Yeah, I mean, or do you feel like 6 is kind of running their luck? And
I feel like I still feel good tonight. And the reason why I feel confident saying that is sometimes when you get in opponent's head and you just kind of own them, that can be a real thing. And then you look at UC Saros, who for the most part has just been so solid and just on a
he's
tear.
been electric, yeah.
He's just on a tear, and I don't see just a really big down game from him. I know they haven't gotten anybody back for this game in terms of Tolvey or Phillip, but everybody else has been stepping it up in the lineup. I think Goodbranson has been a good add for the most part, a physical guy who has brought his veteran presence, just plays a simple, clean game. I'm not unhappy with that ad either. I think he's done his job so far.
Well, tonight, this is what I expect. It's line in the sand time for the Blackhawks. They have to win tonight.
Yeah.
They have to win. So I either expect a Chicago win or a massive Predator win. Because I think if it goes south on Chicago, I think the basement could fall out, and you could have one of those Detroit games where they end up winning like 7-2.
That's a good point.
But I think this is, like Mike Mularkey called the Green Bay game the kitchen sink game. I think this is the kitchen sink game for Chicago. They're home. They got 2 at home, and they got to take this one. They've got to take this one. And if they're not lathered up and ready to just jump out of a cannon, they never will be. So,
by the way, it's a national game. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
NBC Sports Channel, and it's early. It's at 6:00. It starts in like 5 minutes. All right. Because I'm running out of time, we got to get to our draft prospects. Kayla, go ahead.
Okay, so I approached Corey, with whom my draft prospect was, as he was headed down to the restroom today, and I said Zaven Collins out of Tulsa, linebacker, and he said, "Doesn't that guy have 1 sack?" Yeah. Well, let me just reiterate that conversation. I had said, I possibly he does, and I hadn't gone through all my stats yet with him. I take that back. He had 4 sacks last season.
Oh, okay.
Season. He has 7 in 3 seasons for Tulsa. Now, last year was shortened for them, remember.
Okay, but 7 in 3 seasons. That's not a great number.
But look, this is a guy who does other things extremely well. So, first of all, former high school quarterback. That is right. He is an athlete, and he also understands offensive tendencies. He's a very smart player. 6'5", 260 pounds as a linebacker, but athletic as heck.
Like Bud Dupree.
And exactly. And I say that because there was an athletic article that had an actual, I guess he had a wearable GPS. According to this GPS in one of the games, he was able to hit a top speed of 21.06 during an interception return.
Wow.
The guy is athletic. He can do a lot of things well, possesses sideline to sideline speed, beats blockers at the point of attack. He had a 93 coverage grade this past season at Tulsa, 4 interceptions, 2 of them returned for touchdowns, effective pass rusher. I mean, this guy can do a lot of things well. And I'll just put this out here. I know that the Titans, the popular choice would be an edge rusher or edge guy or somebody like that.
He is an edge guy.
He is essentially an edge guy.
He is an edge guy.
Right. I mean, you could utilize
and he's the kind of edge guy that they like. A big one who sets the edge and still can get after the quarterback.
Right.
So no, he fits.
Did I convince you a little more?
No, you look. You didn't have to convince me. Okay, I just this team needs a guy who can get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
And look, I think this guy fits a lot of what Mike Vrabel likes. So maybe it is what they do. But I think they have other players on the board who can make a bigger impact on their football team at number 22. than Zaven Collins. And I could be wrong. Zaven Collins
and Zaven Collins could go before that. So
could be Von Miller, you know?
Yeah.
And I go, man, I was an idiot. Speaking of me being an idiot, John Heacock says, if they're not lathered up, ready to jump out of a cannon, what the hell was hockey like when you were growing up, Corey? When I was saying, this is really stupid. What am I saying? And I was just like, well, I hope nobody caught on to what I just said was, thankfully, we have John, who's there to keep me in check.
Are we getting him on the show like we intended?
Show. We do. We need to have John on the show.
Okay,
John says, so is Collins Harold Landry III? No, he's not. Because Harold Landry III had 16 sacks in one season in college.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who got to the quarterback. And he's gotten to the quarterback some with the time.
Not as much as we had hoped for.
Sacks 2 years ago. 9.5.
Yeah, no, that I know. Sorry, I'm so down on last year on everything.
Yeah.
It just
last year, what do you have, 4.5? 4.5, and he led the team like easily. 4.5, double the next guy. Probably
more
next guy,
more than Vic Beasley and Clowney combined, which was
and punters had as many sacks as Clowney and Beasley together.
Oh my God, we could go on for days about that.
Rufus Hughes says, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm going to be the first pick in the draft this year. Rufus is going number 1.
Look at you, Rufus.
All right, I want to talk. Mike Mulder says to draft a kicker with the first pick. They may draft a kicker, though. That's not off.
They might. Yeah, that's not unrealistic.
I want to talk about Eric Stokes from Georgia.
Okay.
Long, 6'1", 194. His nickname is Dirty Red.
Wait, Dirty what?
Red.
Why red? Is he redhead?
Some tint to his hair, and he's got freckles, so they call him Dirty
incredible.
Red.
That's incredible.
Played a lot of football in Georgia. Really good speed at corner. Could play inside or out. Can fight off the push-off. Potentially a gunner on special teams as well with that speed. But listen, and he's probably a second or third rounder for the Titans if that's where they wanted to go.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not on board. Okay? Because the first comp I read for him is former Titan Cody Sensabaugh. And then as I'm reading about him, I'm like, he's Cody Sensabaugh. Okay? Below average play, plays the man on the ball, which you would like the guy to play the football. He's weak on run defense, a poor tackler, and sure to be targeted by opposing offenses. This is the stuff that has been said about him. So to me, if a team takes him in round 2 or 3, that's a reach. When I read all this stuff, that's like round 5, 6.
Oof.
Because those are serious.
So why exactly did you present him to us today?
Because I've seen him talk to the Titans several times.
Okay.
And if they
just
don't,
clarifying.
Yeah, and if they don't take a corner in round 1, say they go wide receiver or linebacker or something along those lines, they're going to need one.
Let's stay away from Georgia.
And this guy's name is going to come up in rounds 2 and 3. And look, he may be great. He can really run. He had 4 interceptions in a shortened season last year. So maybe I'm wrong. But I think on this team, and that's what I always get back to, guys who this team, if you cannot defend the run, I don't see a future for you with this football team.
Got to be the right fit.
So you don't think I'm crazy there?
Okay. And I like I said, I made a rude joke, but I said let's stay away from Georgia this year.
Well,
sorry, not sorry.
Ojulari, who's a linebacker.
No, I know.
But you know what's crazier with him? He's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah.
Just like Isaiah Wilson. By the way, I'm talking to John Robinson tomorrow at 11:40 in the morning.
Yeah.
Have some of that on News 2. Probably some of it on the show tomorrow as well. But the bulk of that will be on our draft special on Saturday night. Melanie Hazen, who weighs more than Devontae Smith, says in the mock draft simulator, I take Tate Allen a lot in the later rounds. What you think? He's a UCF guy. I think a lot of people like him. Mike Mulder, we talked picks with Kayla on Duck Sports Saturday a couple of weeks ago. Way to go, Kayla.
Yeah.
And Heatherine Mims, we do not want anybody else from Georgia like Isaiah Wilson.
There you go, Heatherine. She's on the vote with me.
What did he do when he came to Nashville? Well, he partied it up. For sure.
He did a lot.
All right, Cal, are we on the hockey game? Cal's rolling on the hockey.
It's just starting, guys. So
I got news 2 at 6 coming up in about 20 minutes. We will be back tomorrow right here at 5:30 with more Sports Extra Daily. Thanks to everybody for chiming in today.